Hi, Mr. Lim. Good morning. Yes, now
Good
I
morning.
see you. Good morning.
Okay. Before we talk about cloud, we start off with something very basic. I would just to share with everyone to say that what is the component of the HRMS system. Okay. So let me share one slide of the overview diagram. I will just use this one to elaborate what is HRMS system and how can the system help organization in the form of automation. So now the trend is that everyone is talking about digitizing the HR operations. Okay, so from the system point of view, the basic component of the full-fledged HRMS system, basically they are breaking down into the current people talking about core and non-core of the HR operations. So let's start with basic. The basic one is actually the core of the HR, which is we talk about the human capital part of it. When you talk about human capital part, it's actually the very basic one is actually the employee profiling, where you keep all this information, the HR information, personnel information in the database. So by keeping a database system, what is the use, right? Like just keeping a database. So that is where the other part of the system come in. You have payroll management system, which is monthly, you process staff salary and so on. That is very basic. Any organization, whether like it or not, you need to pay the staff salary, and this is a part that system helping the organization to automate the computation. Right, the system is helping the organization to automate computation, just not the computation alone. It's also make sure that companies are following the statutory requirement and so on, and the user or the personnel in the organization don't have to be worried about, when it comes to the statutory regulation changes and so on and so forth. So in this part, the system actually helping organization to, taking away the worry about non-compliance and so on. Payroll is just one example of it. The other part is also employee self-service on the e-leave system that allowing the company staff involvement into applying leave through the system. Traditionally, without the leave system, all these administrative tasks is via the organization. Whether the organization is giving all this into the Excel form or buku 35, it's possible the system is helping the organization to take care of all this leave management. And as the company grow, the system also help to taking care of the definition of policies over the leave regulation rules and so on, that categorizing seniority, allowing leave entitlement and so on. So all this part is actually being automated, okay, using the system. Another part of the core HR function is also time management and employee compensation and benefit, where reimbursement of claim come into the system. So all these are part under the human capital, meaning the core of the HR operation. Okay, the more interesting part of the HR is actually the talent management part of it. Okay, just now Peggy got mentioned something like OKR area is something to do with our performance appraisal system, if you're looking at it. And the system can be actually help to consolidate information and fit into the OKR when coming into evaluation of the key attributes. When you consolidate key result in the system, we used to say KPIs definition by organization. In HR, you have two types of KPI. You can be an individual KPI and departmental KPI. And all these results will be actually growing up to fit the information into the OKR, which is just now mentioned by Peggy. Right, so performance appraisal is one of the module or the function available in the talent management system. Other than the performance appraiser, in the talent management part of it, we also have things like, succession planning. Succession planning in a way that, for example, there is a vacance of position. System help to automate, identify who are the potential candidates that actually capable to fill up their position and so on. And another one is actually very important about the staff developments of the organization. How the organization manage first thing first, the budget for the training for the particular year, and what is the objective of training the staff and so on. So when you're talking about objective of training the staff, that could become under one area of the objective key result, OKR, as mentioned by Peggy just now. So on this part of it, the carrying out of the training needs, what the system starting off is, everything will start with the organization plan. How much budget being allocated departmentally or by individual or by business function. Okay, there will be a training allocated and so on. When coming out to carry on with the training, then the system actually keep track of what is attendance of the system and all this. So first thing first, the system cater to the needs of consolidating all the training need analysis, what we call it the TNA, right? So with it, then the system will carry on to have a pre-post course evaluation. All these are taking advantage of the system when it comes to the automation and communication, right? So at the end of the training, all this, that another part of the fulfillment also keep tracked by the system. Hence, the system is able to give you a result of what we call a training gap analysis. Okay, so the gap analysis is the one that at the end of the year, management will look at it to say that how much training is being spent and the result that harvests from the training plan, carrying out the training course for the staff and so on, right? So what you see on the screen now is actually the holistic view of the HRMS system. Okay, the similar question that Peggy have taken on just now is that how we scale the implementation. In this sense of the system, we can actually scale it tailored to organization need. You may not want to implement whole solution as such, but what is available now in the market is that you can selectively go with the core as a basic to go on. And the beauty of today's technology, taking on advantage on the cloud solution, system provider are trying to allowing the company, particularly SME company that do not have huge investment to invest into HR system, to enjoy the benefit of having an enterprise solution. Okay, a lightweight enterprise solution that suit the organization need. Take example, a company with 50 employee headcount. If they want to embark to a system like what you see on the screen now, maybe 5 years back, to them is a challenge. But today, people can just subscribe to the system instead of investing into the system. They can subscribe and they pay it's on pay per use basis. So that is on the beauty of the cloud system that currently available in the market. So to answer the question, don't worry about how complex is the system. Organizations are looking at what they need and what to subscribe. Okay, I have a slide that just prepared. I think I can just go through with this slide to share with you. Traditionally, we start off with this a bit of history to go back to old days that HRMS system being implemented as a standalone. Okay, example, people are using the D-based system during Pro Day and so on. So after which MIS system came in, whereby systems are implemented in the mode of client-server system, multi-user environment, and you have the consolidation of HR function being carried out by group of users, being the whole HR department, they're actually using the same piece of information to manage the information and carry out their daily operation. After MIS system come into another era, we call it web and enabled mobility enabled, which is you talk about internet based. So everything are implemented on the intranet basis, enable employee to access from anywhere they are. So for this, there is a transition into a current trend, which is what we call it a cloud environment. So you see where is it coming from, and then now we landed at the cloud system environment. So when the cloud system kicks in, right, what is available now is that instead of company investing into the system, they are actually go on the subscription mode. The concept is that they pay the system by subscription. In a way, it's pay per use, right? So HRM system is being subscribed instead of purchase and own, meaning they do not have to buy the server. Everything is always taken care by the system provider. Okay, and one of the advantages of having a system on the cloud is that, you know, when HR information is putting into a system, why is it sensitive? Is that normally internally sensitive to company. Among the colleagues, they are interested to know that, you know, how much the other colleague is earning and so on, right? So with the cloud environment, this data is taken out from the company premise, is putting at the cloud. So whoever the access to the system must go through the proper access control, then only they can retrieve the information. When they say retrieve the information, is that via mode of the interaction with the system or management reporting. Today, cloud system also is very strong in the area of generating analytic reporting. So we don't talk about system to generate a listing of employees records, you know, payroll reporting and so on. Now today we are talking about dashboarding for management, you know. So when say dashboarding for management, whoever logging as a management user to the system, on their dashboard they can see at a particular point in time what is the movement of the employees, how is the spending of HR cost over a period of time. So this is all available by fingertips when it's coming to the cloud environment, right? So you can see there's a trend and paradigm shift in the mode that, you know, instead of you buy and you own the system, the paradigm shift is now that you do need to own the system. Okay, so that is where the cloud coming in as a system to be subscribed instead of buy and own. For the cloud, the trend that we're moving on is that the technology is trying to make the client side very light. Meaning to say that whoever accessing the system, they just need decent PC with the internet access or even a notebook. And as an employee, you can actually access the system even through your mobile device. So we make the user end very light, whereby all the installation, you know, implementation is all at the server. So that is the beauty of the cloud system. And just to share another beauty of the cloud system is that to keeping up to the market needs, right? What happens if you have an in-house system that today your attendance system, instead of taking time, they also need to take temperature. After the MCO, right? You also need to take temperature. So we subscribe the system like this, right? Cloud system will always keep up to the trend based on the market needs. So together with the subscription, you do not have to invest much, but the system is catered to be able to handle additional information instead of just time or your timing. Also, it can take in your temperature and so on. So this is a beauty, one example that recently client get to recognize that cloud system is actually very suitable for organization, especially a mid-sized organization that, you know, need to always keep in mind and keeping up with the technology. So with the cloud system, the investment, like, you know, what they are spending is very light. Instead of one upfront investment, actually is actually built into the monthly operation cost. I think let me share a bit of picture about when onboarding a client to the system. At the moment, we'll talk about HR policy. A lot of clients actually expecting HR system implementation like us to go knowing the helping the client to come up with HR policy, which is to us normally we don't do that, right? By the way, the system is designed in a way that with some compliance to the HR policy. We understand that some organization, particularly a startup company or SMI, SME, they do not have a proper HR policy draft up, okay, before they embark into the system. And the system as a whole is already built in such a way that at least you must comply to certain HR policy before you can actually make use of the system. So what the approach is that you look at other systems also, like even SAP and PeopleSoft and all these things, they have policy built into the system. In order to use the system, there are some compliance, and in a way of SOP, you must comply with the system. So if you don't have the HR policy and you want to embark in the system, so long as you using the system to implement your HR operation in the way you are following some HR policy. I take you an example. For example, when you come into the lead management of the system, the HR policy implementation, normally we do take a look at the HR policy the company has and map into the system. At the moment, the cloud system of eLeave consists the parameter of setting up the entitlement of the leave. So how you spell out the entitlement of employee leave is that you have a set of rules, the seniority of what the employee having, number of days that they earn, and all these things. So all these are part and parcel of HR policy handbook, I would say, in every organization if they have a handbook. So we translate this into the system. Okay, so meaning to say, to start off basic with the system is already having some HR policy in place. Okay, but of course we don't use the system to draft out HR policy. It's the other way around, right? So don't worry about having a policy, then only you can embark into the system. And the beauty of this cloud system is that we make the implementation very light. Standard organization with like 20 to 50 headcount or even 100 employees, a core module of HR we just take about less than a month to implement. Okay, so that's why we say that the implementation of cloud system, we make it very light. Any organization should have at least a system in place before to allowing the OKR to carry on for assessment and so on. So that is very basic. So coming back to the system is that on the cloud solution in place, we also would like to share that instead of just tackling the mobility of the staff working everywhere through the system during this MCO, the cloud system also in the market now available for people to outsource the operation. So some key operations of HR, right, payroll, through the cloud system, we actually can outsource it to vendor, and we help you to run your monthly payroll and so on. So we do provide this type of service. And over the MCO period, we start to realize that some organizations, because the turnover is high, they even lost the HR department user to run their very critical monthly payroll. So what they do is that they actually outsource the operation to us, and because they are using our system, so we can continue the operation to handle the process of the payroll. So every end of the month, the staff also still get paid. Right. So another model on top of the cloud is that there is an outsourcing model that available. It's talking about the new norm. So the paradigm shift from the old way of doing things and the new norm is that we must accommodate very fundamental thing is mobility. Okay, and also taking into flexibility of handling the operation with any staff in the organization, meaning multi-function staff for the organization. Not necessarily you must depend on one person to perform a job. Meaning among the department, you can have people that can support each other on performing a single operation. Okay, meaning to say that the business as usual must go on with without an individual person together with the organization. So flexibility in transition into the new norm. On the technology side, you can take advantage of the cloud environment, which is the system allow you to do more into the mobility of the people. And currently, instead of investing into the system, you can actually go into the subscription and even outsourcing mechanism. Okay, so let the vendor to take the worry of the the business as usual of the organization operation.